questions? If not, I suggest we go to item 3, the new member from Riverhead. So we can go around and just introduce ourselves. I'm Jim Tripp, chair of the Clearinghouse. I used to work at the Environmental Defense Fund. So, Andy?
As you may know, Andy Freeling represents Suffolk County, Chief Planner in the Department of Economic Development and Planning.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I represent the supervisor of the town of Brookhaven. Thank you.
Right, and Jim is the chair and I am the vice chair.
Yeah. And Mitch, you're on mute. So if you unmute yourself.
Am I on mute at the moment now? You can hear me now?
No, you're not. Yeah.
I'm good?
Yep.
Okay, Mitch Pally, representing the state of New York, still, former CEO of Long Island Builders Institute.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then our new member?
Rick Stafford, town of Riverhead. Prior to working in Riverhead, I was in private practice for about 20 years. Prior to that, I was in the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office.
Okay, good. Well, welcome everyone. It's been a year and a half. And I think so long as the Clearinghouse serves any function at all, we should have a meeting at least once a year. So the minutes of our last meeting in September 2021, any questions? Any concerns? If not, would someone make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. I read them and instantly was brought back to the moment. So the minutes are fine.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good. So, program overview. So what's been going on? Whoever is going to give that report, has there been any active trading in credits anywhere? Are there issues?
Good
Is
morning.
everything going smoothly?
Good
Yeah, I
morning.
believe Jerry's going to do that, right, Jerry?
Yes. So we keep working on letters of interpretations. Recently, we issued 5 letters, and we're following up on the past LOIs for their interest in the program. Also recently, we recorded 1 easement, which generated 1 credit, and 3 easements are currently in the process. Also, we keep up with our easement monitoring program. 6 easements have been visited recently, and that includes, I think, the biggest property that we have in the program, Nassau County Boy Scouts. It's located in the town of Riverhead. It's over 400 acres. I think one of the issues they have is the southern pine beetle infestation. A lot of acres are affected by it. And I think they are planning to obtain the commission's approval to remove some of those trees that possess safety hazards. In terms of the redemption, so far this year, 0.29 credits have been redeemed, all of them for commercial projects and through the health department. And 4.2 credits have been sold. And the average price is almost 87,000 per credit.
Which town is that?
That was in town of Riverhead and Southampton.
And the roughly 87,000, that's the average including Brookhaven? Or just between the two towns?
We didn't have any sales in Brookhaven this year,
Okay.
so that's just for Riverhead and Southend.
Did the developer who bought the credits for his multifamily housing project, were those credits all redeemed in the town?
Yes, they've been redeemed a year ago.
Yeah.
In January.
And Mitch, has that development gone ahead? I'm just curious. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to go ahead. Yep.
Okay. And then the letters of interpretation, were those from small property owners?
So you said small? property?
Small, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there were any large properties. I mean,
Yeah.
recently,
And what did,
like 2 acres. There is one easement that we work in right now on a large property. This is Long Island Country Club. It's over 100 acres. It's in the town of Southampton. We have already easement on the property adjacent to it on the Brookhaven side. And right now we're trying to get another easement on that property. It's almost vacant, just has like hunting fields. But it's a large property.
yeah, I know where it is. What, do you have any idea what provoked those 5 small property owners to request letters of interpretation? I mean, was it anything that you did, or did they just spontaneously make that request?
Yes, we recently, at the end of the last year, we did the reach out to the properties that haven't participated in the program yet. So over, I think 500 letters went out. And since then, we received like close to 40 letters of interpretation applications. So I think at least some of them were part of that result of that reach out.
Yeah. Okay, so now the question is whether they'll take the next step.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And we have also the table with statistics for the last year. And we, if I can maybe share the screen. Can you see it?
See the minutes. Yep.
So this is the table.
Yeah.
So for the last year, we had added 8 parcels to the program. And we generated 13.5 credits. 47 credits have been redeemed, and most of them to the commercial projects. And part of it as a multifamily residential project in the town of Brookhaven. 41 credits have been sold, and the average price differed depending on the town. So over 100,000 in the town of Brookhaven, 76,000 in Riverhead, and 86,000 in the town of Southampton. And the total average price was 90,000. Also, we inspected 73 properties which has the road access and have installed 22 conservation easement signs. So this is the statistics for the last year.
Yeah, okay. So do you have any thoughts what we can do to further encourage particularly small property owners to seek letters of interpretation? You've been sending those property owners a a letter once a year? Or is there anything further we can do to encourage them to request credits so that they record a conservation easement?
Short of changing their zone to make their property more valuable or finding ways to make their fractional pieces of credits more valuable, I can't think of any.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm just spitballing here, but if there was a pool that you could throw your fractional credit in with other people to make a whole credit that might be more attractive to a purchaser, maybe something along those lines might be something we could do, but I'm at a loss. If the property is not developable and nobody's knocking on their door to buy their credit, how do we motivate them to even get a letter of interpretation?
yeah. Well, it's a good question.
The clearinghouse is always the purchaser of last resort, and we do have funds, and I don't recall the letter, but I don't know if we can make comments like that. I see John's eyebrows moving all around, but again, money talks, and if we can find a way to make their fractional credits valuable to them, or if we could, this probably isn't fair, but if we could give a premium to fractional credits in order to get them to move, we might be able to price them higher as a fraction than as a whole. But, as long as these little pieces are sitting in the core, it's very hard to move them.
Yeah. Well, at least as far as the town of Brookhaven is concerned, that gets us to the question of recommending another reverse auction. And my recollection is that's what we did in the September meeting. And that was attended by Lee Ray, I think it was, from the council's office in Brookhaven.
And I don't recall, did we get a majority of fractional credits being offered for sale? We did, John? Well, that might be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time, and I was gonna, John, you probably remember the terms and conditions of the last time we did it, but I think we did not want to be in a situation where we were buying credits from people who had been sort of active speculators and had large numbers of credits. So I think maybe we limited it to purchasing maximum one credit from a person, really encouraging what you're talking about, Andy, trying to get small property owners to offer their credits for sale to the clearinghouse. So
I would agree 100%, because it also makes it easier for a developer who needs them to go to one place and not to 15 different places.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why we limit it to Brookhaven? Brookhaven asked us to do it. Is that why? Or
Yeah, Brookhaven asked us to do it, and Brookhaven, in fact, has, this is supposed to be a redemption program, so that there's a high likelihood that developers would do what Mitch was just talking about, actually come and seek those credits.
Right.
And, the ones in Riverhead are all, I think, all for commercial use. And Southampton's, unless I'm wrong, Southampton's market is entirely for septage purposes, and there really isn't any particular reason. I mean, Southampton does not have, or really never has had, a program for residential credits, and that's what I think we don't have to subsidize or help out the commercial redemption septage program.
No.
So that leaves it to Brookhaven, and the credits that we just sold were Brookhaven credits.
Well,
yeah.
I think there are some things in the wind that might change the market for the redemption of credits. They may all be health department driven, but I think we just might want to keep our hats on for a little while and see what happens in the next couple of months. You're right. Southampton, I think even Riverhead has their own credits still to absorb before they really have put pressure on Pine Barren credits.
And Riverhead is redoing, or trying, let's put it this way, to redo their own TDR program. Unfortunately, they have not been successful in having a program that makes sense to anybody at the moment, but they're trying again as part of their comprehensive plan.
Well, I guess, Rick, you could jump in, but they are currently, Riverhead is looking at redeveloping the entire downtown.
That's correct.
And,
Yeah.
And I would imagine that it could be arranged that downtown could be a sink to preserve open space and, whatever halo or whatever you want to imagine around the downtown. And maybe start to move Pine Barren credits in that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a thought.
I just observed that if the Riverhead had your expertise, they would have a program that worked. The Clearinghouse, they just have our Clearinghouse help them.
But is
They're big-
the thought in Riverhead that Riverhead would somehow ask redevelopers in downtown Brookhaven to buy credits to do certain kinds of things? I mean,
Well, but the point is, Riverhead has never been willing. The reason the program does not work is that Riverhead has not been willing to give back for the redemption of a credit something worthwhile. And if you don't get something worthwhile in return, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's been the problem in Riverhead for the 5 or 6 years I was involved in their redemption and TDR piece, is that they were not willing to give something of return. So a developer looks at it and says, I'm not getting anything back for my credit. Why do it in the first place? That's what they're trying to figure out at the moment, is what to have to give back in return.
In Brookhaven, are they getting density for the credits, or are they getting wastewater forgiveness, if you will?
They're getting in some residential, they're getting density. Because in most times in Brookhaven with multifamily, you're building a sewage treatment plant.
Right.
So what they get is the density.
Brookhaven sort of faced the fact that the value in all three towns, the value of credits, when we say $90,000 or something like that, is for the commercial use, for septic. So it's worthwhile somebody paying that kind of money for whatever gallons of septic you get. No one is going to pay $90,000 to build one additional house.
Right.
Okay.
That's the
so,
problem. And in fact, in Brookhaven, Jim, it's much higher than that, because as we all know, some speculators have bought up many of the credits, and they tend to be the only place you can go to buy credits.
Yeah.
And their prices are significantly higher than you get for one more unit or whatever additional density you get. That's the problem in Brookhaven.
Well, I think in the multifamily, what Brookhaven did to develop a residential redemption program was to allow a developer to build something like 5 additional residential units for one credit.
Right.
So you divide 90 or 100,000 by 5, it's, $15,000 to $20,000. And with a savings in land purchasing, that's economically worthwhile. That's how that deal
Right.
went through in September 2021. That's a specific program. Southampton
Right.
doesn't have anything like that.
And neither does Riverhead.
Yeah, well, Riverhead never had a residential program.
Right.
But it was just something I don't think when this whole program was set up, we realized that the values were going to be determined by commercial use, which is a vibrant, robust use, but a rather limited market.
Correct.
And so Brookhaven is the only town which has taken zoning action, land use action to promote a residential program that could use credits for additional density.
Right.
So, you know, I think Brookhaven would like us to go ahead and hold another reverse auction, really for the reasons that Mitch stated. So there is an option for developers, rather than reaching out to small credit holders or having to deal with those people who have amassed large numbers of them. An alternative would be that they could come to the credit clearinghouse.
Agreed.
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 Yeah,
So has there been any discussion at the commission meetings about holding another reverse auction?
No.
no,
Well, if we're going to recommend to the commission, I mean, that's what we do. We're not going to run it ourselves.
Right. We could put a communication together, or you know, we could report it to the commission.
Yeah, I think, and then we ought to sort of describe what we think the terms and conditions of another reverse auction should be.
Jerry, refresh my recollection. When we did it last time, did we do a Dutch auction or did we set a ceiling on the price? I forgot.
No, there was no ceiling on the price. There was a ceiling on the total amount of money that
spend.
Clearinghouse is
Okay.
willing to spend.
Okay,
Didn't we say we were gonna spend $1 million or something like that? That was
Yeah.
the way we did it.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes,
right.
1 million is the-
And then
Yeah,
I
we
think then another question was, in terms of reverse auction, whether we would ask property owners to specify what they'd be willing to sell their credits for, or a fraction of their credits. And then the question was, when those offers came in, would we set the price uniformly across the field, you know, to buy $1 million worth? So that anyone, if you offer to sell a credit for 60,000, but in order to use up $1 million, we're going to be paying $90,000 of credit, then everyone would get $90,000 of credit. And my inclination to go with the latter is, I don't think small property owners really have any idea what the market is. I mean, I don't know how they would really find out that they should offer $90,000 of credit rather than 75.
Mhm.
It's doing it that way is sort of an inducement, it seems to me, to get small property owners to participate in the program. And there should be a limit. I think we did before, no more than one credit per property owner.
Right. But it's an auction, right? So wouldn't we set a starting bid price, which would give a landowner kind of an idea of what it might be worth?
Well, we could do that. I don't think we did before, but we could certainly do that.
all fine. I just remember, Jerry, did we have, that's all fine, and that's good. Did we have a cap on a number you could sell last time? Because that would give the incentive to the smaller owner, and also cap. If a speculator wanted to sell credits, she could only sell 1 or 2, whatever that number was. Did we do that last time?
No, I don't think we had the cap on that, and we paid the price that they offered
Okay.
last
So we
time.
didn't do a Dutch.
Yeah,
So we-
Yeah, I think you're right. We paid the price that they offered. But I
Right.
think when we did it one time before,
We pulled them all up.
yeah. And I thought, my recollection is we did set a cap. I mean, the developers in Brookhaven may not want to deal with the people who have a lot of credits, but you know, the part of the purpose of the reverse auction is to facilitate the willingness to sell credits on the part of small property owners who really don't know very much about the program and would have more confidence maybe in dealing with a clearinghouse and the commission rather than some speculator running around offering them something. I mean, that's sort of the idea.
No problem. That's fine. Yeah, that's that. It, you know, we're how many years into this thing? When we talk, I mean, we're probably talking the grandkids of the people that owned it in 93 and 95. So who knows who is left? Because that, but I think the commission, we should send a memo to the commission doing that. That's fine. Capped amount of money. And then they're available. I mean, it's a little bit different this time in that last time we were approached by the town to do this because they had a developer that needed the credits. So I would suggest that maybe some handful of the members give a call to the supervisor and just give them a heads up that this is something that's on the so there's not a surprise at the next commission meeting that this is what the clearinghouse is recommending. Maybe Mitch or Mr. Tripp could give that call. Just so he doesn't like to be caught unawares. No one does.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I think there'd be support for it.
the one person in the town who has communicated with me about it is Lee Ray. Is that her name? In the
Lee
council?
Rate, R-A-T-E, rate.
Yeah, I mean, she's asked me, you know, sort of what the status is.
Okay.
Because we had the discussion at the meeting in September. I mean, it would be either Mitch or I will get back in touch with them, but I
Yeah.
think it would be good if we're, John, for you to put together a sort of a draft memo to the commission with the sort of the specifications, the conditions for it in draft form and share it. I'd like to see that before you send it off. I think Mitch would, if Andy, I think it'd be good for Andy to see it, and for Bob and Rich just to sort of see what's in it.
We will put, yeah, Judy will have one of us put that together. No problem.
When's
And we
the
could
next?
we could reuse the one from last time. So
Yeah.
let's just talk about the parameters. It's at $1 million. How much money is in the bank, Jerry?
So as of now, we have 2.5 million in one account, county account, and then we have additional
Oh,
just over 900,000 funds in another account. So that would be 3.4 million.
so we could
I would do $1 million, whatever money we got from selling the 10 credits, about $1 million, or is that what it was?
Okay.
I would limit it to that. I mean, in theory, going back to our earliest days, we've offered to buy credits in all three towns at the Jim Nicholas offer price.
which is still open.
So we should keep something in the bank in case we get a
That takings challenge that we've been waiting for.
yeah.
Or it's come and they've been successful in beating it back.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think that's good.
Yeah, Bob Enright joined the meeting by phone, so I'm somewhat limited, but I've been listening for about 5 minutes.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
Hi there, Bob. Did
Nice.
you hear this discussion at all about sort of recommending, as we did a year and a half ago, that we do another reverse auction in Brookhaven with the money?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Okay, you're comfortable with
Yeah.
that? Yeah, okay.
very comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anxious.
So,
Jerry, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Jerry, we had a conversation last week. What is the universe of property in the three towns that has not been protected either through acquisition, hardship, or Pine Barren Credit Program in broad numbers? What's your best guess? What's the universe?
So it's around 1,500 acres.
And how's that break down by town?
It's 700 in the town of just over 700 in the town of Southampton, the same in Brookhaven, and an additional like 54 acres in the town of Riverhead.
Can we get that Can we get that data? Do you have that? Do you have that mapped, or do you have that in a Excel spreadsheet or something by tax map number?
Yeah, we have it in the table. We did the analysis a few years ago, the land use analysis. And this is what where the data from. So yeah, I can send you the table.
Yeah, could you resend those to me?
Yeah, I think that would be good. And do you know in Southampton and Brookhaven of the 700, approximately 700 acres you just mentioned, how many of those acres are what are they called? Dual mapped. I mean, there's
Overlaps?
overlap problem. Is
For
it
the
a-
overlaps, we did also analysis a few years ago as well. And in the town of Brookhaven, it's 31 parcels. And the estimated amount of credits that can be generated is 33. And in the town of Southampton, it's 149 properties, which could generate 45 credits.
And they get the letter, well, they won't get it in Southampton, but they'll get the letter in Brookhaven for the reverse auction, right? The overlap parcels still get a letter.
No, for the reverse auction to get for the Clearinghouse to buy credits.
Yes. They
Well,
wouldn't be, they wouldn't be
those-
eligible. If they got a letter, they wouldn't be eligible because they're an overlap, but they might be motivated to resolve the overlap and then sell whatever fractional credit they have. So I'm just wondering if they get a letter.
Are we going to send the letters to the?
Brookhaven overlap owners.
No, go ahead, Jerry. What's your, go ahead, Jerry. I know what your question is.
If they don't have credits yet, we still would send a letter to them as a potential credit owners.
So are we sending a letter to everyone that has an LOI? So there are three flavors, right? There's people who have
Right.
LOIs, where people have nothing, and then people have a credit certificate in hand. Of the three, who gets the letter inviting them to participate? I think that's Jerry's question.
In the
And if you
auction.
send it to everybody,
Okay,
you may motivate them.
I jumbled the three flavors. In the first instance, are overlap owners getting the letter that says the credit clearinghouse is looking to purchase? Why don't you do a letter of interpretation?
It can be if you direct the staff to issue the invite, let's call it the invite. We invite you to bid. So that invite can go to everyone in the town of Brookhaven, that's 700 acres of landowners. Or it could go to just people with letters of interpretation or just people with credits. We don't know of the 700, I think, Jerry, we don't know absolute certainty who has an overlap. There's some, because that may be discovered later on. We have a good idea, but you probably would want to send a letter to everyone, because then if they don't, even if they aren't a participant in the program, we'll have gotten another letter of interpretation out there so that they can get calls and be on the list of people that may sell if they get enough money. Because right now there's a group of people that just have been silent with respect to the program. They've never participated. They don't even know how many credits they're entitled to,
Right.
and they're not on the for sale sign. So that at least then there would be on, they would at least be listed on Airbnb. If someone wanted to call and make a deal with them, they could. So they would get them out into the program.
Yeah, I'd send it to everyone. I think then you have to say, if you don't have a letter of interpretation and haven't gotten your credits, if you want to participate in this, then you have to go through that process. And if you find out in that way, somebody writes in and says, I want a letter of interpretation, there's an overlap, then John, you're going to provide them with a lot of legal assistance to help resolve that. But I think it would be of interest, actually, in Brookhaven, at least, since Mitch brought up the fact that the developers are antsy about dealing with a handful of people who have cornered the market or who have a lot of credits.
Because the price is too high.
There's some incentive in Brookhaven to figure out a way of resolving the overlap issue with those 30 parcels or the 30 potential credits there.
I would throw the widest net you can, and then we can
Yeah.
figure out which ones to keep.
Okay, is there anything else we need to discuss?
One thing I'd
So,
like to bring up about the town of Southampton side is we had the Community Preservation Fund in the town of Southampton, and we have a huge quantity of money, cash, available to purchase affected properties or Pine Barrens credits from those properties, and maybe you could do some type of a coordination effort with our Community Preservation Fund, where you could give the person either the option of they're in Southampton town, either the option of getting a credit and do what they want to do with it, or selling the parcel directly to the town of Southampton.
Well, would that be an initiative coming from the Clearinghouse or the town of Southampton?
I think the Clearinghouse should talk with the town of Southampton to coordinate the effort and give the property owner the choice of cash or credit. You know, that may motivate some people to sell those properties, and the properties get preserved. I mean, that takes care of it.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy to participate in that effort with you, Bob, but you're going to have to take some initiative.
Okay.
You know, to make that happen. I mean, I'd still like to think that Southampton might be willing to do something like Brookhaven has, and that is to develop a realistic, viable residential redemption program. You know, when I've talked to people there in the past, I can't say there's been, you know, a lot of interest, but, you know, there might be.
I would be glad to present that to both Marty, who's our environmental guy, as well as our new manager. We just had a new manager last month, so we maybe we'll be more receptive to it.
Yeah.
Through the Community Preservation Fund, we've got a 9-figure amount in reserves. Right, that's unallocated money. So
To purchase
certainly have
land,
the
right?
means.
The CPF purchases land.
Yes, this is
And
CPF purchases land and preserves it in perpetuity.
Right.
I'm
not, Bob, can you hear me? I'm not sure.
That means
In Southampton town, can you use the CPF for other purposes, affordable housing or something like that?
no, we can't.
Okay.
We can use a portion of it for clean water programs and septic programs. I think it's limited to 20%, something like that.
Right.
But right now we have this huge load of money that I'm trying to get rid of. So you know, it would meet both the committee's purposes as well as the town's preservation purposes. If we could do something jointly, I'm thinking just give the owner the option. You know, if you have a Southampton town property and it has a Pine Barrens credit, this is what you do to get your Pine Barrens credit. Or if you don't want a credit, here's the number to call, the person to contact. You know, if you want to sell your parcel outright. Either way, we're accomplishing the same thing. You're preserving the property, but it's a lot easier with cash sometimes.
Right.
Well, they could also, you know, get the credit and sell the underlying fee to the town, to the preservation fund.
Yes, we have bought that as well. In some cases, you know, we work together to get the credits for the one case of the nonprofit. I think they got about 15 credits, and then we bought the underlying fee underneath it after the credits had been issued. But we gave them the option of selling the whole thing for cash or going through the credit program. You know.
John, I have a legal question for you, since, as you know, I've been interested in seeing what we can do to resolve this overlap issue. Almost since the program was set up. But if the commission decided, with the support of Brookhaven, for example, that a property owner with an overlap issue, and where the county is the holder of the overlap, so we're dealing with a public entity. If that property owner has been paying the taxes on the entire parcel, that person would be entitled to a credit.
Except, Jim, that the county is paying taxes too. The county is paying taxes to the towns for that vacuum that the landowner is not paying. So the county cannot just give up its interest in that property, and that's been the problem forever.
Well, I mean, usually it's the county parks department, is my understanding, the holder of the overlap. And the reason the county puts the overlap piece into the hands of the parks department is then they don't have to pay taxes. So the only taxpayer on the parcel, this is, Andy, what the conversations I've had in the past with people in the county, including when we met with the woman who was the head of the Department of Commerce or Economic Development or something like that. I think you were probably at that meeting. But my legal question is, John, let's assume Brookhaven, let's even assume the commission went ahead with such a program. We want to resolve the overlap problem. And if a person with an overlap problem can come in and show that he or she has paid the taxes on the entire parcel for, in many cases, probably years and years and years, for purposes of the credit program, we would recognize that as qualifying for a credit. If the commission decided to do that as a matter of policy, just to resolve this problem, would you have a legal problem with it? With the acquisition program, I can understand, but is there any legal impediment to using the credit program in that way? And if you don't want to answer the question immediately, I'll give you time to think.
Okay,
But,
I will, we'll do it, we'll go into a closed session, we can have a nice, we'll have a good discussion about this issue. But we have talked about this for a long time, and it's the same issues remain, right? So those people had property that has a bad title, and it's not something that anybody created on the commission or the clearinghouse. So I understand the equitable argument of it, but there's that legal issue of whether you can give someone that made a bad investment recourse. Or what if a person says, I'm paying too much in taxes? So were you going to give them some credit because they overpaid for their taxes for all those years? And I mean, it's just an equity argument at that point. This is, but we can have a conversation about it. There had my concerns remain the same in that I'm not sure what government is using its funds to protect if they don't have clean title. And I think you would have the problem of government really has to make sure that it's buying something of value. And I'm not sure you're paying anything, you're gaining anything of value if you buy out a person's bad investment, which is a cold way of saying it. But we can have a further conversation.
Yeah, no, it is an equity issue.
It's an equity argument only, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I guess the commission money that has been generated over the years is public money, but I'd be interested in discussing that with you, because even after all these years, and in 2025, I guess it will be 30 years since we set up the program. You know, the real question is whether the commission wants to resolve,
But
the
Mr. Chair,
overlap problem. And at the meeting we had of the Carmen's River Partnership, John Turner, who consults with the town on a land acquisition, said his goal, which I share, and that is at least in Brookhaven, he's talking about Brookhaven, you know, all the property would be taken care of. There would
We
no
have-
longer be any reason to have a zoning map. In fact.
We have had, and I just approved title within the last 2 weeks. The market is at a place where people are now figuring out privately how to resolve title problems. So there was a case in the town of Brookhaven where it was one full credit. A person purchased the property. They had a title problem. They went to court. They had a judge issue an order decreeing that their title was superior to any other claim. And then they came in and they got their full credit. There have been other people that have apparent title issues where the title company has insured the commission's interest in the easement that was granted by a person who's demonstrated to the title company satisfaction that there's no one with a superior title. So that recent example and the last couple of years, we've seen a handful of these. I think that the market, as the dollar value of the credits go up, is forcing those transactions to occur. And that is the right resolution. There's a procedure in the real property actions law. I think it's the RPAL,
Yeah,
to provide title, and that's happening. I don't know. I can send you a copy of the decision.
How many credits did that person have?
One credit. So one.
Well, if you have one credit in the town of Brookhaven, it's worth $90,000. So you're willing to spend $20,000 in legal
Yeah.
fees of 15. Yes,
Yeah.
but if you have a quarter of a credit,
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's
Yeah.
not worth it.
But if
It's
you
just not worth
have, if you have 3 or 4 parcels that are all the same, and you own 4 parcels in a row and you have the same overlap, the market may be there for, $50,000.
yeah,
If the courts are now being receptive to this and title companies are understanding the issues. So we have had some resolution of this. I know there's another overlap in the town of Southampton where a developer's come to the commission and said, I have clean title to this. And the county's title is wrong, and that's like 5 or 6 credits, and he's trying to persuade us that his title is superior. So the market is driving those transactions now, and which is surprising because but it's happened recently, and I think that'll occur more and more as this stock dwindles, and there's only 700 acres left. So how many credits is that? 150. So the universe is really shrinking on this,
yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
but it is occurring.
Yeah,
Well, I think the more we get communications out to those landowners, those overlap landowners on how much these credits are and the fact that the price is going up, maybe in a time of recession, you might get a few more people thinking that they could spend a couple of dollars to get the full value of the credit. But my point is that as long as they know how much a credit is worth, it'll always be a tickler in the back of their mind to try and resolve their overlap.
okay. Any other issues that anyone wants to talk about now that we're
Nope.
all together?
No, just one issue that's always nagging in the back of my mind, and I never take the time to research it either, is what are the other Pine Barren entities around the country doing? Have they had the same issues with regard to stagnation of programs? Have they gotten more creative with the use of their credits? I'm just curious. I know Florida's got a tiny Pine Barrens, New Jersey's got a big Pine Barrens, Albany's got a Pine Barrens, but I don't see stuff. And I have not taken the time to research that stuff. So I was just curious how we compare to other Pine Barren entities. So just food for thought that maybe we could come back at some point and talk about what other people are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only other program with which I was familiar is the New Jersey program.
Right.
But I really haven't had any contact with them for at least 10 years. And I never heard of any discussion about an overlap problem there. The question was the viability of the receiving areas,
Right.
where that commission had land use authority over the towns and villages and really established the zoning density increase incentives, but there was sort of pushback on that.
Mm-hmm.
The other programs, I don't know whether the Albany bush pines, what are they called, whether they have a TDR component to it, I have no idea.
Right,
Oh, I'll ask John Turner, he may know.
okay, curious.
I think we're
I'll do
aware
some-
of, because they don't really deal, they're not permitters, it's a different function. They manage pine barrens for a specific ecological purpose. They don't really get into development.
Yeah.
So we're unique.
And the Maryland program was not, was a farmland preservation program.
Right.
And again, I haven't sort of, it was certainly successful for a while.
There are other TDR programs around the country, not necessarily related to pine barrens, that I've read about on, in surrounding areas around cities. But as a redemption, you get, say you're building a hotel, you get additional floor, additional 2 floors for preserving open space out in the suburbs. But to do that, of course, you need a municipal government that controls both of them. And you need the ability to go past the 3rd floor, which we don't often have on Long Island. So it's a much different context.
Right, no,
But I've read about those, especially in Seattle and Portland and other places like that, where, the regional government, for lack of a better term, controls both aspects of it. And will say to you, okay, you're building a hotel in downtown Seattle, instead of making it 10 floors, we'll give you 12 floors. And for that, you save, here's your TDRs from property out in places they want to save. That's a very difficult thing on Long Island, of course.
right, and I was familiar with those TDR programs, things like that. I was more interested in pine barrens programs and what stagnation they might have faced and how they broke out of the stagnation. And so,
Yep.
all right.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
John, we look forward to receiving your, or whoever is going to prepare it, the sort of the draft memo to go to the commission. And Mitch and I will talk about getting in touch
Yep.
with the town.
Thank you for that.
Not a problem.
So, and we'll have another meeting within a year.
That'll be sooner if we have so just so when the drafting the memo, so we're gonna do offer, the Clearinghouse is recommending the commission offer $1 million to purchase Pine Barren credits from the town of Brookhaven. Asking anyone with core property or sending area property in the core town to participate. And then they would set a price and we would do a up from the bottom. When we add them all up at the highest strike price, the Dutch auction, reverse auction, to $1 million, they would be offered to be purchased and at that higher price. And are we limiting participation for any one person to sell no more than 1 credit? So that way some speculators could participate with up to a credit, or is it only people that have not purchased the credit they're offering for sale? And if you do that, then the person could just buy the property and then say, I'll offer this piece, because that's occurring as well. So I'm just trying to make sure we know the eligible participants is as follows. What is that? Where do you want to target that?
I guess I would limit it to one credit per person. Make sure that,
If you do a half a credit, then you would really get the smaller landowner.
or you could do that, but that may be too small.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry, most of
And
the
we don't have to, if somebody comes in and Brookhaven and says, I'll sell you credit for $125,000, we don't have to do that.
no, we don't.
We're not compelled to spend this money.
No, it's just who would if I bought 5 credits, could I offer one of my 5? And that would be fine. Or if I purchased a credit, I could sell half of it. If it's, Jerry, the credit distribution, where is the area under the curve? So is it 0, 1/10 of a credit to a half a credit, or is it over to the left of that? I guess that's to the right of that. You know what I mean?
The average parcel size, you say?
Yeah, average credit allocation.
Average credit size, right?
I would have to double check on that, but I would say it's closer to the half
Okay,
credit
Once you split the baby and go quarter credit,
with the
the
size
maximum would be a quarter credit.
amount of credits that each property owns.
I see what you mean.
so we could, we'll look at that and we'll give you an option or two. You guys can pick.
I mean, if you make it too small, you
Yeah.
may not get many responses, so.
We'll do one. Okay, one credit. That's easy. Okay,
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 And
We're all
are we going
done?
to- I'm sorry, are we going to purchase by the price they offer, or we'll do the average?
we'll do the pull up from the bottom to the top till we get to $1 million and then pull everybody up.
yeah, like we did last time,
Right.
or the time before, you know.
Yeah.
or whenever we did it, yep.
So when you draft this letter, you're really completing the first box in our reverse auction process, item 5, last attachment. And then we still have this whole process to go. All right, okay. No, it's easy to follow that way. Copy notes, yeah.
Okay,
Good to see
anything
everybody.
else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Make the motion,
I'll make the
second,
motion.
Second,
it's unanimous.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
All right,
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay,
So long, everyone.
see you all. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
all right, have a good day. Bye-bye.